We're delighted to welcome Lonwabo Nene from South Africa. So Lonwabo, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the group and then launch into your presentation, that'd be great.
All right. Thank you very much, June, for that introduction. My name is Lonwabo Nene. June really said the name very well. people really kind of have a problem with it. Nene, Nene. She said it really well, exactly. I'm from South Africa, from down south, as we call it. And it's summer here, so got a bit of user sweats. Got the fan on, but it's really hot. But yes, most definitely, I met the FSHD Society as well about 2 years back, and I told my side of the story of living with FSHD and how I've learned to manage with the conditions that have come with it, and so much so I really would like to actually share them with you for today. And my story kind of begins very early on, I would say, from my pre-adolescent years. I was somebody who was very active, and so active, in fact, that I had dreams of playing rugby, or maybe in the US, it can be associated with American football, for instance. It's just unfortunate that most of my peers shot up, and they kind of left me here. So I'm like 5'6". Most of my closest friends are like 6'2" and 6'3". So, but regardless of that, I was very active. And around about 12 years of age, I started to notice, when we were all doing push-ups, I just felt a bit of weakness, or I would say looseness, which is still it's a very useful term that I still use to actually describe FSHD. There's a certain looseness that I would feel. But back then, I didn't know. I was 12. I was still just playing around, bumping into each other, knocking each other down. And I just kept on going with life as well. And around about the ages of 14, 15, that's kind of when I really started to notice, okay, I'm starting to walk differently. I've got my right foot, because all of these problems started originating unilaterally. So from my right side only. And all of those problems really started to go from my right side. I had looseness, I had a foot drop, and particularly with the drooping shoulder. So I had very much so internally rotated shoulder when we wear blazers or coats in schools. I wanted to always have a crease here on the right side, and felt very uncomfortable. The face started to actually, I describe it as there would be heaviness on the right side of my face, as if gravity had an extra force on the right side of my face. My face started to feel stale. So that's kind of when I knew around about the age of 14, 15, that, hey, something might be up here more than maybe the way I feel, and then what is going on. So around about ages of 15, I had a biopsy done, and I was still back in East London. East London is another city here in Eastern Cape in South Africa. And I had a biopsy done there, and the biopsies came back and said FSHD. This was probably 15 years ago. I'm 25 now, so that's 10 years ago. So it's been 10 years ever since I was diagnosed with FSHD. And I remember the doctor, before they actually did the biopsy, they did the simple test of just pushing against the wall. And I had my mother behind me. And it was the first time she actually saw that. The winging of the scapula just really popped out, almost like it was introducing itself. And I remember she was just crying because she thought there's something big wrong with my son and all that stuff. And I never saw it, luckily, but I would see it when I arrived back at home. And ever since then, as much as I knew there was something, I never stopped. I always kept on doing what I could do, because coming from a household with not much really, I really couldn't get the physical help I needed back then. So my parents then decided to scramble together what they could. We moved towns, and we came to Port Elizabeth, which is a much bigger city. It's got better health officials, professionals as well. And they really helped me to treat me. And finally, I was fortunate enough to receive physical therapy as well. So I talk about my physical therapist a lot. He is Damien Zealand, and the bike geneticist that really kind of put everything into perspective for me. All the other self treatments I was doing for all these years, and he said those things that you were doing for all those years, if you had not done them, we probably would be telling a different story right now. And I said that's exactly what I was doing. So today, the part one, I'll be telling you guys about. Oh, sorry, just for a side note, I don't know if FSHD causes a bit of stuttering. I don't know, but stuttering even before that. So for folks who may think there's a connection network when I'm repeating words, there isn't any. I'm a stutterer as well, but just on certain words. But you're going to hear that. But hopefully that's not going to be a problem. So today I'll be presenting the Feeling Fit with FSHD today in two parts particularly. So the first part, which is what we're doing today, I'll be addressing the face, shoulder girdle, the arms, and my most prized topic that I really want to talk about today is the nerve flossings. And nerve flossing is something that I'm very excited to talk about. And it's the one thing that I believe has been so beneficial. I only started doing it maybe 3 years ago. And it has really aided a lot in my recovery and my just overall general health ever since doing it. And so when we speak about the face, I'd like to first start off with the face, and because there's certain types of facial massages that when we start to do them. So my face, it was my first self-treatment that I would do. As I said, there were certain types of sensations. I felt numbness. To even certain degrees, I started to lose color on the right side of my face. So facial expressions were very limited. I had very dry eyes as well because my right eyelid wasn't closed well enough. I had headaches as well. And another very interesting thing I noticed was on the right side of my head, actually, the hair wasn't growing much there. So that's kind of when I started realizing, okay, maybe I should start with my face because that was the first thing I noticed that it was really starting to show itself. So I really just want to kick it off with a bit of facial exercise. I mean, facial massages. It's actually facial massages that I would do just to really help improve the blood circulation within the face, help to stimulate the sensations and really kind of address that numbness that you may be feeling, the lack of facial expressions that may be going there. And sometimes, I don't know if other people really get this, but even to this day, I still I sweat less on my right side. I don't know if that is something that is a very common, maybe with FSHD or muscular dystrophy. Maybe it's due to the fact that muscles are not really being stimulated the way they're supposed to. So massaging the face really kind of helps to get the blood flow going there. And so there are three sorts of exercises that I would like to show people about them. It's very simple ones. We can do them in our chair. And first ones I would like to do, if everybody can still hear me, there's a term that we use here in South Africa when we say, a sharp sharp. It means it's all right, you can still hear me. Everyone can say sharp sharp, and then I'll know that you guys can hear me and you can still follow along with me. I would really like that. So we are starting off with, if it's okay, we can go into the exercises. All right.
Sharp sharp.
Sharp sharp. Yeah, that's it right there. So the first exercise that massage that I would do, I would just take the finger pads of my finger pads over here, and I would take them across my temple, really massaging here, because there is I would really get a bit of headaches over here, general tightness. And so whenever in the morning, particularly, facial massages are the first things that I would do. Because when I would look at myself in the mirror, literally 10 minutes later, I would feel revived and refreshed, and I can feel the blood flow really getting there. So we take our finger pads, pressing ever so gently, or you can press however pressure you really want to feel just to get into that temple area there. And then second one we use We use I think I, I call it the tiger fist. I don't know if I'm being correct with that tiger fist, or we use the phalanges over here. We use them to actually massage the sides of our cheeks as well. So we kind of take that, pressing into the cheeks over here, really kind of massaging those areas there. It's kind of what I like to do as well. And then the knuckles as well. Knuckles, it's a problem area for me, particularly where I still get a bit of tightness within this area here. I've never had problems whistling, which is, I guess, a symptom of FSHD. Never had problems with that. But this tight area here would always kind of get tight for me. So I'll really take my knuckles and apply pressure right within this area between the smile lines that I'll call them. Kind of take it there and apply just at the right amount of pressure there, just to really get into the fascia of the muscle. And to start to notice, once I started doing this the first time, I would feel certain sensations, almost like, okay, there's definitely something that's being done. Maybe there's blood flow, finally oxygen getting into there. And years of doing this, I've seen much improvement with my face and with my, I would say, facial expressions. So if we can just go over those one more time, we take the finger pads, massaging on the temple area, and then we take the phalanges here, kind of get into our cheeks area, and you can even go maybe perhaps with the jaw muscle here. The jaw muscle, one that would be weak for me as well. I kind of take it there, apply a bit of pressure as well, and then I'll use the knuckles to just really get into that smile line area as well. You can do this all throughout the day, really. Maybe if you're doing alone or in the car, just do it, it will really pay dividends as well. And so, as I said, the more I became aware of my body and I was researching and what was happening, the more I started to realize certain types of symptoms that you get with FSHD or muscular dystrophy may sometimes seem unrelated. What I mean by that is, I remember telling my doctor what I just said about back in the day, when I got diagnosed with FSHD. And I said, hey, doc, I really think the right side of my face is not, the right side of my body is getting less hair, from my legs up to my head and all that. And he said, don't worry about it. It's probably nothing, But I kind of knew there's probably something going on here. And so so I just kept on learning. I just kept on researching more. And what I started to realize was that because of the serratus anterior perhaps not really doing its job of helping to actually pull the scapula forward and actually hold us in tight in shape. So I had a weak shoulder girdle, which actually caused me to also have a weak posture. Luckily, I've never had problems with overhead reaching or shoulder elevation. Perhaps that means that my shoulders are quite healthy. And so what I started to realize was that all of these things were kind of affecting from the top down. So my hips, they started to experience a bit of issues as well. I do have a bit of imbalance when I walk. Funny story, in fact, in school, they actually would think I was trying to be cool with the limp that I had. So all of them, they kind of call me, oh, cool, hey, man, you're being cool. But I actually had a real limp, and I had very visible imbalances so when I walk. So all these things also led to compensation patterns. So the compensation patterns as well, I like to describe them as, even now when I stand up, I stand straight. When I walk especially, my trap, or the right trap, is really overdeveloped on my right side, which is also, I think, a common symptom of FSHD, because I use it so much to hold myself up when I walk. If I were to actually let myself down, I start to become flimsy and I kind of lose the balance that I have. So all of these things I started to realize and kind of made me a better person with FSHD, started to understand it better. And that's how I just kept on doing these self-treatments every single time, every single day. and I'll do them for all these years. Now, uh, going on to the shoulder girdle. The shoulder girdle, as I said, was a very major problem for me. It was something of much concern as well, because it would not only affect the shoulders, obviously, but the arms as well. So I had a very tight, short bicep as well. The walking was also very compromised. And I would actually find creative ways to make sure that my school bag never had more than 4 books in it. So the textbooks that we have are very big, they're very like thick like that. And either I'll give them to a friend, I'll say, hey man, make sure that you come to school tomorrow, bring the books with you. Because I never told them why. Also, I just never told them why. I just said, I'll just give these to you. Make sure you bring them back, or I would find another bookshelf, put them there, because the added weight on my back was just too much for me back then. Because I really had to deal with just keeping myself upright, and then imagine having a bag full of books weighing you down, pushing you down, and so I just couldn't handle that. So the creative, I believe people living with FSHD or muscular dystrophy are just creative folks in general, because we come up with very different ways than the general population to actually try to overcome our obstacles. So this is something that was very apparent with me as well. With my bike kineticist, when he assessed me, he found that I have hemiplegic characteristics. So, which also would mean the general weakness across the right side of my body. I'm just kind of taking you through the what he actually told me that I had. By the way, this is all in a handout. If folks would like to receive the handout, I would appreciate if you put down your email address here, so that I can also contact you with mine and then send the handout through. It was going to be given to everybody as well. And I had the scapular stability, of course, very heavily internally rotated shoulder. I've got certain movements or patterns that I'll put my arm in that I'm going to show you guys that I did over the years, just to try to alleviate all of that tightness that I would feel, and a bit of functional scoliosis. So all of these kind of showed themselves into the lower portion of my body. They kind of translated themselves to the problems that I would feel as well. So I've got a weak glute, a weak right glute as well. So I do a lot of glute exercises. But all of the exercises for the lower portion of the body particularly will also be in the part 2. So maybe you would like to tune in as well next time when we speak about the lower portion of the body. The exercises that I'm going to be showing you with those as well. And so what I would do whenever I'm sitting in a chair, for instance. So as you see me now, I'm sitting in a chair. I'm sure everybody is sitting in a chair. If you have an armrest, that's even better. I would try to actively put my arm into an externally rotated position as much as possible. So naturally, when humans sit, I believe we acquire a more internally rotated the positioning of the shoulders. So when I would sit, I would literally try to, maybe if you can see me a bit more here. So I would actively put my arm just like this. Or it's better if there's a sofa or a couch, because I can't really show it here. But I would put my arm in an internally rotated position like this. If I'm reading a book, I'd put my book on this side, really trying to tweak or get the shoulder girdle and all these muscles on this side, just to really try to stretch them and pull them into an externally rotated position with your supinated arm kind of facing up, kind of like that. And I don't know, maybe I would sit like this for, depending for how long I'm really seated down, just try to keep it in that position right there. And so obviously we're trying to avoid any internal rotation, and that's what I would do. When I was sleeping, I had problems with sleeping as well. So right now I'm a back sleeper. I love sleeping on my back. I scare a lot of people when they walk into my room because they think perhaps something has happened to me. But back sleeping for me is a beautiful thing for me right now. But back then, when I was between the early onset symptoms that I was feeling, I really struggled with actually sleeping on my back because the shoulder blades would just protrude and push out. Whenever I try to turn this way, they were just always there, letting themselves be known. So I would sleep on my front stomach and lay with my arm outstretched. I can't really show this here because I don't have a bed with me, but I'll sleep on my front and I'll sleep with my arm outstretched. Try to minimize any elbow flexion because the elbow flexion, I realized, kind of kept my bicep into that contracted positioning right there, and also ease any type of tightness in the front delt as well here. And also get a nice good stretch over here for the lats. All of the problems that you would face when you're actually standing up, trying to keep yourself upright as well. So that's how I would sleep as well for a few years. And then do the same positioning when I was sleeping, try to actually keep my arm pronated when I was sleeping, lying down, kind of keep it up like that there. Can't really show these, but you're going to see them in the handout. And these are, I would say, accessory movements that I would do with the actual any type of exercise that I would do, because obviously finding the perfect positioning for you to keep your arm in while you're reading a book or how to sleep can only be done for a very finite amount of time, because you will get up, you will change the position when you're sleeping. But certain things when done, kind of, okay, if I'm going to bed now, I'm going to try and stretch my arm out if I can with whatever mobility that you have. Try to actually just keep it within a position for a certain amount of time, or if you're resting. I found that this really helped me all along the years as well. And there is a big genetic factor this involved as well. I understand muscular dystrophy varies between individuals, and that's something I also learned on myself. And however, I knew, okay, if I can manage it now, any type of muscle degradation that I have in the future may be slower, or I can actually retard the entire process. And so much so now, all of these things that I've kind of put together allow me to become stronger as well. I'm in the gym. I'm really trying to actually use the strength that I have now and see, oh, okay, it's very interesting to find that, you're getting stronger at certain lifts, certain presses as well. But obviously, I have to spend a lot more time in actually trying to brace the entire torso, try to press the scapula. So I spend a lot of time on those movements, using a lot of bands, and really just trying to think about the scapula, the positioning. But all of that is also going to be in the second part of the presentation as well. And just before we move on, just to speak about a bit of nerve gliding. Yeah. So the nerve gliding is something that is very, as I said, very excited to talk to you about. A bit of backstory about it. A few years back, I was speaking with my friend who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So we were kind of all in this program, learning film. And he uses a electrical wheelchair. And so he has intense muscle contractions. He can barely outstretch his arm. And we were just speaking about this and how he says he has very limited mobility with his arm, with his shoulders. And something just kind of clicked with me back then. Kind of like, okay, I do have limited range of motion in my arm in terms of tightness. The trap's also pulling me up on side. So what if I just try to actually stretch my arm? But I've never stretched my arm because I didn't understand what it would be to stretch it. I didn't know what it was back then. So that same evening, I got into my room and I literally just pressed. I tried to get the wall on the opposite side. And probably not the smartest thing to do during those times for that first time, because with me really outstretching my arm, I received a certain sensation that I've never felt before, that I describe as a fiery sensation as the rebirth of my arm. It literally felt as if my arm was becoming almost like reborn, almost like, I don't know if people watch DBZ. I grew up with DBZ, Piccolo, when the arm kind of regenerates itself. That's how it felt like my arm was regenerated. But obviously, I kind of learned from that day, maybe I should start taking it slowly, go with it gently. And that's kind of the entire motto of nerve flossing or nerve gliding. You want to go gentle with it. You don't want to actually push past more than the tension that you feel, because the tension that you feel now, you do the movement and then you kind of relax. You'll find maybe 30 seconds later, you're able to get a much better range of motion as well. So nerve gliding or nerve flossing, similar to how muscles can get tight, and particularly with the MD and the FSHD, we don't use certain muscles to our fullest extent. And so what you find is we can be immobilized, or we don't use the full range of motion. And in the same way that muscles can get tight and need a bit of stretching, nerves also need to be mobile. So the term nerve gliding, researchers actually found that nerves actually glide or slide back and forth within you, within whichever region that you're speaking about. So for me, particularly, it's within the arms, because that's where the problem area was really lying. And the two nerves that I found, I researched over the years, I found that were a major problem for me, was the median nerve and the radial nerve. Now, all the nerves in that go into our arm, there are three primary peripheral nerves. They kind of originate from the roots, from our neck, kind of go through the underneath the clavicle, and through the chest as well, pectoral muscle here, and then the median nerve. You kind of find it in the middle of your arm, so into the anterior side of your arm, and you will feel sensation. You should feel sensation for the medial nerve between the thumb over here and between your index finger and your middle finger. So when I'm going to be showing you these exercises, the tension or sensation can be felt there as well. And then with the ulnar nerve, also originating from the neck down underneath here, and the sensation should be felt through the pinky finger and somewhere in between, in the middle of the ring finger as well. So these exercises I do on the right side. And as I said, after feeling them, I usually had a lot of numbness before, and I started doing these nerve glides or the stretching, which is really not a good term to use, because you don't want to stretch a nerve. As soon as you stretch a nerve, it can cause a lot more complications. So depending on your level of mobility, on your level of range of motion, we really start off very slowly and very gently with them as well. And so the first types of nerve glides that I would like to show you, I'm going to do one and then kind of stop for any feedback, or just to hear if you are able to follow along with me. So the first one, let me just try to get into a good position. You can see me, okay. Want to be in an upright position as you can. Do it seated down. And I'll literally just stick my arm, let me use my right arm precisely. And I picture it as as you are seated down right now, you kind of just outstretch your arm a bit, and picture if you've got what is it called? A yoga ball. Yeah, I think it's those big balls there. Picture yourself almost patting the ball, or just applying a bit of pressure down onto it as well. There we go. I think it can be seen there better. So what I would do, I'll try to picture myself with the yoga ball there, and there's a bit of stretching down that you want to do. And so if you can you'll start to feel tension somewhere around these two fingers, as I said. So kind of working the ulnar nerve. You may feel a bit of median nerve as well. I won't be doing the radial nerve because I've never had a problem with it. But perhaps if anybody's interested into finding a bit of exercises as well, I might show those in the second segment as well. So I'll start off in upright position, really trying to picture myself kind of applying pressure on that yoga ball and just doing small circular motions, Whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise, it's up to you. But people do start to feel a bit of tension, as I said, between those fingers. And that's when you know, okay, something is really starting to be stimulated or is working actually. And whether you would like to go a bit higher next time, and then you just kind of rest as well. So kind of go, just apply that bit of motion there. And then you go clockwise as well. Okay. And then try to go, maybe you can do a wider circumference too. These are just very basic, very gentle exercises for nerve glides that you can do. It's just there's so many variants of nerve gliding or nerve flossing out there. And so that was just one of them that I'll show you as well. But before I continue, are there any questions or are you able to follow along as well?
That's very clear.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Okay. And the second type of median nerve, of nerve glide that I'll be doing, it's for the median nerve. Now this one, depending again on your range of motion or that you have on your mobility, I would stretch my arm to the side. You can see me here. There we go. Stretch my arm right there and turn your palm upwards as well, right there. And kind of picture your fingers pointing down into the floor. So already this should be a stretch on the forearms, which is also a problem for me as well, because the forearms on my right side used to get tense. So it can be a nice good stretch for you there. But keep your arm outstretched like that, pointing your fingers down. And then what you want to do, whenever you're pointing your fingers down as well, kind of move yourself towards that side. Tilt your head towards the side that your fingers are pointing down, and then you move back as well. So the tension, as you are actually pointing your fingers down, you're going to feel them in the within the palm, middle of the palm, thumb, index finger, pressing down, and you want to relieve the tension on that side. So that's why you tilt your head towards your hand, and then to back again, this side, you should feel the tension a bit more on the neck as well. And you kind of do those repetitions for as much as you feel comfortable with. You start to get tired, you put it back down again, and then you start again, start as well. So those are certain types of movements that I'll be doing for my nerve glides and nerve flossings as well. And so, as I said, with everything that I would be doing, I do these things as the nerve flossing, the nerve glidings are things that I do, I would say, during the day, whenever I get the chance, really. Whenever I get the chance, you can do them within an hour. You can do them as much as you possibly can. It's well up to you and how you feel with them. Don't try to push yourself through any sort of, any sort of pain, particularly. So you would probably like to speak to your doctor about this as well before you undertake any type of general exercise that we do. Okay, let us see here. So, case for anybody who has joined us, my name is Lonwabo Nene, and I'm speaking today about the face, the shoulder girdle, and the nerve gliding or nerve flossings. Very basic exercises that we're going to be doing. in case you missed them, for the face, we kind of take our finger pads into our temple area, and then we just massage those. Then we take our what is the phalanges or the tiger fist, massage our cheeks, and really get into that jaw muscle over there. And then we also kind of take the knuckle area here and really address that area between the smile lines over there, just for improved blood circulation and improved facial expression, facial expression as well. And now another nerve that I would like to speak about, kind of on the lower body, lower hip portion. Lower hip portions as well would be a big problem for me. General tightness would kind of occur through my legs, through my hamstrings as well. So a nice general stretch that I would do as well for this, kind of keep myself. We can do this seated down. It's very nice as well. So upright positioning, kind of keep ourselves here. And if you can, almost put your foot just in front of you, and we start to reach down, almost want to touch our toes, but we don't go all the way down. And what you should feel is a good stretch in the hamstrings as well. But also there's a nerve there known as the sciatic nerve. I call it the sciatic nerve. I don't know, but people call it the sciatic nerve. That's also another nerve glide or nerve floss that you like to do. You can do it seated down as well. There's many other ones where you're lying on your back, but you really just want to feel over there, feel the nerve, and then run back again. You can alternate between the two legs, just as the other nerve glides as well. So we can alternate between, for all these other nerve glides, alternate between the arm, do 5 repetitions on one arm, or as much as you can handle, and then kind of take a break, and you do the other arm as well. So there's certain nerves, as I found, as soon as I started addressing the nerve glides or the nerve flossing, I really found improved range of motion, number one, within that affected area. And I do believe, as much as nerves, I grew up only learning a little very basic information about nerves. So I always thought nerves were just sending information to the brain, and that's all they do. But in fact, and I would like to think of it this way as well. So once I started addressing the nerve glides and the nerve flossings, the improved range of motion and the improved state of my arms, I believe, is actually from increased blood circulation within that area, increased oxygen as well, which also kind of sends messages to the brain. Okay, this part is now beginning to work a bit more. So let's start to send a much larger supply of blood, oxygen as well. And that's kind of what I felt as well. So all of these exercises, certain types of things that you can do just to address that blood flow. And even in winter, I'll have a very big problem with actually feeling coldness on my right side. Some that still does occur, but not as much anymore, because I do all of these exercises, stretches as well. I saw the ones that Frank did, and yeah, those are some really great ones as well, particularly with the torso, very great stretches. And so if you incorporate all of those exercises with yourself, you should feel and see a much improved general state of the condition that you have. Everything that we do, I would say for me, I just try to manage the condition that I have, because I know, okay, I can't take it away. There's many videos out there that say how to fix winged scapula forever. And what I would find is, okay, maybe I can't fix it, but I can manage it. It can get better. And most definitely, as my biokineticist says, 1% every day. 1% every day will literally compound itself and will pay dividends down the future. And so, yeah, I wasn't really going to speak much. Not much of a talker. as I say.
Well, you're doing
I
very
try,
well. You fooled us.
yeah. Yes, yes, yeah, I know.
But
So those are just some of the exercises that I'll do, most definitely, as I say. But part two will be will be more in depth. Got a lot more exercises, particularly just now that you've had heard my background story and where I come from. Then part two will be the ones given by my biokineticist as well. And I'll try to adapt those into seated positioning so that everybody can uh, participate in them. And so I'm very excited to also be delivering part two. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing that on
it's
that Thursday, but I'm
2 weeks
gonna
from now.
two
Yes.
weeks from now. So
Yeah.
2 weeks from now. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. Yes, and so I
So
really hope I will be sending out the handout to those who are interested as well. I don't know if I should take down the chats.
yeah, if people can put their email in the chat, I can capture them and send them over to you. But also,
Okay.
if you send me the handout, I can post it on the calendar.
All
And
right.
I think we'll also follow up with a blog post at some point when I clear my
For sure.
calendar to do that. But I had some questions. So, and I'm
Yes, yes,
sure
yes.
other people may too. There is a hand raise function. So if you have a question and you can, if you're on a
Okay.
laptop across the bottom, there's a reactions thing and you can press the raise hand and then we can
Raise a
address your
hand.
question. But
I see one chat there. Okay. There's someone in.
so anyway, if someone has questions, you can use that. I had a question because you mentioned that early on you were experiencing facial symptoms, kind of a heaviness or deadness in the face. And you mentioned you couldn't close your eyes, but you are closing your eyes now. So did that actually, the exercises help you with the eye closure and expressiveness and
Yes, particularly with the eyes. I actually did something exercise. I would take a sleeping mask because that's something I really found that was very useful for me. I'll just take a sleeping mask and just put it around my eyes. That kind of helped to really force my eyes to close down. And just general exercises that I would do for this area. I didn't really write them down because I guess they were addressed as I kind of moved along as well. And so general exercise that I would do for my arms or for my eyes, just generally pressing down on the actual eyes as well, kind of teaching that muscle to close down as much as possible, kind of opening up again, just closing down as well. So I would do that maybe not so often, but those are just some of the few things that I did. But to sleep in particular, I would literally get a sleeping mask just to force my eyes to close down all the time, just so that I can get a good night's rest. Yeah.
yeah, great. And you mentioned also you felt like the right side was affected not just with the muscles, but with like it wasn't sweating as much. It was, you thought there was less hair growth and so on. Did you see any change with that? With
Oh yeah.
following?
Oh yeah. Even so, I still do see a bit of, I would say, asymmetrical growth of when I try to grow up my beard on the right side. But apparently, that's a very common problem that men have as well. So I really try to either shave my beard off because it doesn't grow much at all on the right side, still to this day. And so I just kind of keep it within a goatee space over here. But as I said, particularly after addressing it with the nerve glides, um, I do think that the nerves do have nutrients supplied to them.
Yeah.
There is, I think this is a very interesting topic for maybe some a specialist within the within the neuroscience space as well. Perhaps maybe they can take into because once I started doing those exercises with the nerve glides, the stretches with the nerves, improved mobility, as I said, but improved functioning uh, of, of the actual hand, right down to my hip girdle, right down to my legs as well, with those nerves as well. So I did see varying increase maybe in muscle mass as well, because there was suddenly a great stimulus within those muscle areas. Blood flow was starting to actually pick up there, and I kind of changed as well. I'm very sad I didn't put this picture in here because my sister kind of sent it to me very recently. But I took a picture with her back in East London, and you can literally see my face almost drooping. It's almost a bit grayish, and they had no clue what was going on with me back then. And you can imagine as well, not knowing yourself what is really happening with your body, but just persevering every day. So facial exercises, as I say, was the first self treatments that I did for myself because I realized they didn't take any sort of apparatus. I just do them with my face, with my fingers, with my knuckles, and I got into them just in that manner as well. And yeah, I believe these are quite interesting topics here.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious if anyone in our audience today has tried similar things, like with facial massage or kind of stretches to relieve, the pinching or confinement of nerves. If you have similar experiences, or be great to hear if you. Everybody's very quiet today. So, well, if you want to make a comment, you can share.
Hi, yes.
Oh, yes. There is a comment here.
Hi, Lonwabo.
Hello.
And June. It's
Ruth.
Hi.
Oh, hi,
Hello.
Ruth. Yes.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I was writing a message and then I had to get out of it to come and comment, I think. Anyway, I think it's really interesting, the nerve, the focus on the nerve, because I think we tend to focus on tightness of muscles and from that aspect as opposed to the nerve aspect. I know we look at things like sciatic nerve and things like that, but it's still due to the weakness in muscles, right? But the nerve activation itself is really interesting. And I think it actually kind of goes along with, say, if I understand it correctly, the theory of acupuncture, right? Which is to bring blood flow to certain areas to help the body heal itself. So I think this is really great, and it's giving me something to think about in terms of different ways to approach dealing with ongoing progression.
Yeah, acupuncture really does seem like an interesting thing, although I don't know how far the needles go down. But it's definitely something that I would like to try. If you say it really does go in line with the nerve glidings and the nerve flossings, then yeah, sure. There's also a message within the chat saying that the eye specialist does not cautions against using sleep mask. Yes, anything perhaps that your specialist says or your doctor that you have trusted for years, go with that most definitely. I do offer I would say, medical disclaimer. Yeah, as I studied film and television production, and so everything that I've learned is kind of from my own experiences, and so I just sharing that information with people and how they want to use it as well. But please, yes, if using sleep goggles or anything that works with you, that's great. Anything that can help you to really improve your sleep, because sleep is very important into recovery, particularly now that I've been able to get back into the gym and just to see how far I can test my limb limits. I try to get as much sleep as possible, up to 8 hours, maybe 9 hours of a night. And so, yes, anything really that can help you, please use it as well.
Right, good point. And I think the caution with the mask is if you can't fully close your eyes, you certainly don't want anything touching your eyes, right? But if you're in a situation where the mask is enough to help weigh down your eyelids, I think that probably makes sense. we have a blog post with someone recommending, I mean, there are all kinds of masks. They recommended, they use eye drops or gel, and then they use a saran wrap, a plastic wrap, which use for food to cover your food. But they said there's a kind that is particularly clingy, and you just cut a square of that, and it keeps their eyes well sealed at night.
Yes.
There are all kinds of
like something
workarounds, a lot of hacks.
No, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? We're almost at the end of our hour. I think you said you had a very captive audience. Really fascinating. And I have to say, you introduced a lot of ideas that I have not come across myself. So it's very valuable. And
and I'm still doing my own research with the nerve flossings or the nerve stimulations, because I do believe there's something there. As I said, I'll try to, on my side as well, speak to certain specialists as well, just to actually gain a bit more information on it. Because imagine if you incorporate nerve flossings or nerve glidings, if your GP actually says it's okay with your actual regimen of trying to strengthening with the weakness of your areas as well. I believe that can be a very good combination indeed to actually speed up recovery and the rehabilitation process. That's certainly what I experienced for myself. Yeah, so
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I listen to what so many patients tell me, and I think a lot of the pain issues are nerve related more than muscle related. And it makes sense that when your muscles are compromised, your nerves are going to get, constricted, pressure.
Pressure, impinged, most all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. And Lonwabo will be back on, I should look at a calendar. I think it's January. Let me look at a calendar so I don't give the wrong date. 26th.
January 26th, okay.
At noon Eastern time. So that would be 7:00 in the evening for you. So thank you for taking time out from your evening. We also had somebody who was tuning in from India at 11:30 at night.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, 11:30. Yeah. It's very nice. Thank you as well for bringing me on here. And for the second part, as I said, I'll be dealing about particularly with the chest, the back, hip girdle, and for the foot as well. Exercises there prescribed by my biokineticist to actually address the weak posterior chain that I had, and also walking as well.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody. Go have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks.